Now we're going to open the class blade one, and we're also going to open the drawing that we just made, which is card drawing one, the AutoCAD file .dxf file, and that's going to contain the converted sketch. So we should have something like this. Okay. We're going to make a few changes here. For example, you can see the word Rolex is a bit too small and the crown is too large. This one should be fine. So I'm just going to select the crown and I'm going to scale that down. And then I'm going to raise it a little bit because it's too far downwards. So make sure duplicate mode is deselected, and I'm going to select 0.8. You can enter this value directly, and I can also move it to a point where I need it to be. So I wanted the ellipse to kind of align with this curve, and that's good. Then we're going to select the word Rolex and move it down here. So the L, the middle of the letter L should align with the center of this curve, but we can do that in the sketch mode because it's easier to create that axis using the constraints here, the outer constraints. But we're going to first scale it up twice. So I'm going to select this point and I'm going to enter the value 2. Make sure duplicate mode is deselected and select OK. Okay, so that's looking a bit better. I can lower this a little bit to be right there. Now we can select everything here. And I'm going to copy. Then from class blade 1, we're going to show that axis system. Just use it for now. So show this and then select the XY plane in sketch. I'm going to select top view here because, yeah, it's less confusing for me because I want this geometry to look like that. Okay, then we're going to paste it. And if you fit all in, you can find your new sketch, drag it up to that point. We're going to rotate this by 90 degrees. So you're going to select the point where you want your rotation to occur, anywhere about that place. And then I'm going to select 90 degrees. Select OK. Then we're going to scale that down. Deselect duplicate mode once again. I can select this point. And then I'm going to scale it down all the way to 0.1. So maybe I can type it in 0.1. Now first, before I bring it over this geometry, because every time I bring a sketch over a new surface, every time you want to select something, you kind of select the surface. So we're going to edit first out here, and then we're going to bring it near the surface. So the first thing we're going to do is to create an axis. As you can see, as I said, it's very easy to select an axis automatically that runs at the center of that curve, that circle. And then I'm going to fix that at first because it's kind of it kind of moves a lot. So I don't want any geometry moving. Now the thing is, before you even mirror this to the other side and before you crop out these parts, in fact, let us first select the quick trim. Double click on quick trim and trim off all this intersecting geometry. Everything should be continuous from one point all the way to the beginning of the point once again. So we're going to clip out those, and it looks like our geometry is completely closed. But if you exit your workbench and you try to create a feature, let's say a pad, you're going to get this error where it says the sketch contains several open profiles or some geometry used for construction. And this is because when you're importing these kind of splines that were created from another workbench, it kind of gets, I don't know if it's a bug, but even if they were closed, they kind of get some gaps in between them, and we get some non-manifold geometry. So what seems like one continuous curve is a couple of sketches which are not interconnected. They just look like they are connected, but they have some small gaps. So how do we fix that? Well, we're gonna go back to sketch mode. So double click on that geometry once again. And you can select sketch analysis. So from this bottom toolbar here, you can see we have this icon which says sketch analysis, or you can go to tools and select sketch analysis, and this is going to give you a breakdown of every profile that you have here and whether or not it is connected or not. And as you can see here, we have this selected geometry that you can select individual ones and check, and you have the status here which says whether it's closed or opened. So you can kind of see every geometry that is closed. And then we have this which says you have open 16 curves which are opened. They are not interconnected. And then the inner one, the crown, and this inner profile is closed. So this is where the problem is. And what you're going to do, you have some corrective actions below here. If it's not a geometry that is important, you can either make it a construction element. You can, hide the constraints. You can delete this geometry. You have a couple of options here. And then there's this one option that says close opened profile. So we can try that. And now it says that it is closed. Okay, so it says this one is closed. And you're going to close this and then test out. So exit the workbench and then try to create the pad geometry once again. And as you can see, we are not getting the error anymore. So that means it is fixed. So go back to the sketch. So we're going to double click on the sketch once again. And I don't know, there was kind of a bug. I noticed that when you go back, it kind of opens the profile again. So just to make sure, you can check once again, it is closed. And then now we can mirror this to the other side. So I'm going to individually select these curves, Control, hold, and select all of them. Make sure you don't move the geometry, because I don't know why, but this imported curves, it's easier to move it and then create a gap once again. So when you click, you have to train your finger to release quickly. So select just the lines. Don't worry about the points, they're just construction elements. So we have those. And we're going to mirror that using this axis. And then once again, I'm going to check if they are still closed or we have any open curves. And the one that I have mirrored, you can see they are closed. So this is important. You have to check. Sometimes, I don't know what, you kind of move the geometry and you're back to open profiles and you'll be stuck in that loop for quite some time. So then select triangle. We are going to create a triangle here. And I'm going to select these two lines and make them symmetrical about this axis. So remember, we fixed the axis so that it doesn't move. If you don't fix the axis, it is the axis that is going to move to fit into the geometry. So make sure the axis is fixed. Now, once we have that, I can move this up here, zoom in, then make it as narrow as possible. Maybe a little bit downwards. And then I'm going to increase the length, say up to about that point. So we're going to mimic that kind of a line we had down there. And one last time, I'm going to check if my geometry is once again closed. Everything is closed. Now we can highlight everything. I think we're going to have to unfix now. Unfix the axis so that we'll be able to move everything. And then I'm just going to select everything here. And bring it up here where we need it to be. So we have this line that is kind of in the middle. So I'm going to try and center this sketch about that point. And then I'm going to move it kind of to the center, because we have a drooping surface here and it's going to create a lot of problems when we are creating a pocket. So that's it. And one final time after moving, check if anything is open. So everything is still closed. You can tell how traumatized I am by these non-manifold sketches. And then exit the workbench. So now we have our sketch, but we do have a problem. So this sketch is lying on a planar surface or a planar plane, but our surface is curved. So if we were to create a pocket, this side would be very deep and this side would be very shallow, and we would have our pocket going through in one part and not going through in another part. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to generative shape design workbench, and then we're going to create a point on this surface. That point is going to be, we're going to bring it towards this side because this side is the one that is sloping downwards like that. So let's say about this point. But about this point, we can play around with it later on. It says the distance is 8 point whatever. I'm going to make this 7 at first. 7. Select OK. And then you're going to create a tangent plane. So select one that is tangent to surface. This is the surface, and at this point, select OK. Then you're going to go back to the part design workbench. And then on this part body, you're going to define it in work object. Then we need to transfer our support for this sketch to this plane. So you're going to go to the specification tree, scroll down to the sketch, right click, and then down here on sketch 8 object, you can see change sketch support. And if you select that, you can select the plane. Now there's some type, here we have sliding, we have positioned, isolated. I can leave it at sliding. And then right here, make sure that move geometry is selected. Okay, so that it moves from that top plane to that bottom plane, and then select OK. So as you can see, this is much better than what we had before, because now the sketch is almost lying on the surface, where we know it's not completely lying on the curved surface, but the gap between the center and the side is not that much big, and it's kind of evenly distributed. So we're going to create a pocket. So select pocket, and then you're going to select dimension. And since we know our thickness for this part is kind of limited, we're going to try 0.3. We just need a slight groove. And then you're going to select this as your sketch. CATIA kind of, I don't know whether it's my machine or it's CATIA, kind of have a difficult time processing these imported sketches and splines. So make sure that the direction is facing downwards. And then you can select OK and check. There is a chance that some of the edges might not be grooved in, and all we have to do is to adjust the position of our point so that it's kind of balanced out. Yes, as I said, As you can see, this side is completely grooved in, but this side there's some part that didn't reach the surface. And because I don't want to make it deep, we're going to play around by moving the point. But to make it visible for you at this point, make sure that the material is shading, and then I can select this pocket and make it a different color for you to see. That way you can see which parts are grooved in and which ones are not. So we need to move this point towards the left side. You can show the point. See, that's the point. We can try to move it a little bit to this side and see if this is going to complete. If that doesn't work, then we can maybe add it to 0.4. So I want to move the y-axis, right? The y-axis, I can double click on y-axis. We can see here it's negative 0.9. So maybe I can make this say negative 10, negative 12. Let's try negative 12. Wait for it to update all the geometry. Don't worry about it disappearing. It's going to reappear. Slight improvement. We still have to move it further. So what if I try negative 20? Negative 20. So you just kind of have to play around with its position. Is it even moving? Why do I feel like it's not moving? Let me select local update. Why do I feel like it's not moving at all? Let me double click on the point itself and change the distance here. So the distance is 7 right now. Let's try 8. We can ignore this. I think that made it less. Which side is it moving to? I'm going to try a large figure just to be sure. Let me say 15. So the further I move to this side, the more it disappears. So I need to make it less. Okay, so initially it was 8. Let me try 6. Okay, 6 is working great for us. So we move the point a little bit to this side. And it seems like we have this whole surface and only a little bit of this surface is not grooved in. So why don't we make this 5.8 and say 5.8. So before you go to add the depth, you would rather kind of try to balance where your point is. Of course, these figures that I'm trying is not the exact figures you're going to try for yours, because where I positioned my point is different from where you positioned yours. You have to remember that. No, I meant that was 6.5. Sorry, my mind is going on the reverse side. I don't know why. 6.5. Okay, trying to balance it as much as possible. 6.8. I want to make sure that if there's any part that is remaining, it's just on each side. 6.3. Now I'm really confused because I keep adding instead of deducting, and deducting where I'm supposed to add. Okay, so this 6.3, only a little bit, a wee bit is eaten off on this part. Yep, so 6.2 is what is working for me, but I can notice that this line is very subtle, but it's still okay. We can make it wider from the sketch. So this is what it looks like when you have balanced out the two surfaces. Select OK. If this doesn't work for you, if you're stressing too much, another alternative is to go to the pocket. And like I say, we made it 0.3, so you can try maybe 0.32, 0.34, 0.36 until you see that both surfaces are kind of visible. So we have 0.3. If I try 0.35, and let's see what that does for us. Let me try that again. 0.35. I want to increase it to 0.35. So depth 0.35. Okay, I think 0.35 kind of brings everything quite nice. And one last thing that I want to do is to increase the width of this rectangle. It kind of looks like a very faint line. We need it to be visible. I'm clicking on pocket 4 once again. I need to click on sketch 8. Pardon me. Cancel this. It's sketch 8. Sketch 8. And I'm going to zoom in and just drop this down a little bit and exit. And that is our final groove. So that's the difficult part. So right here we have Geneva Swiss made. That's pretty much easy to make. You can just start a draft. Start a draft, enter a text right here which says, it should be all caps, which says Geneva Swiss made. What's up? Geneva Swiss made. Swiss made should be at the bottom, so I'm going to enter another text below that one, and this is Swiss made. Let's bring our sketches right here at the center. Okay, and then I'm going to position them. So this should be centered like that. I'm actually going to work with this default. Now it's just playing around with me because why is it working like this? Okay, I can try to position it on the other sketch. So we have Geneva Swiss made. I'm going to save this. This should be drawing3.dxf. Save. I can opt not to save this and just open the DXF file. So drawing3. This is what we have. So I'm going to copy this. I wanted to see if there is a way I can move this. Copy this and then paste them in a sketch. So this time we can just paste them on the plane we just made, the plane one. You don't have to do the whole transfer. So you can select plane one and sketch. Let's show it first. And then I'm going to paste. Oh, this is going to be very hard to spot because it's very tiny. Okay, I think I see it. So you have to really zoom in to be able to see it. You see how it disappears? Bring it on top of the plane. And then we're going to scale this one down. Right on that spot, I'm going to make it 0.1. Obviously still very large. So scale that down once again on this point, 0.1. I'll go back to top view. Then we need to rotate. We need to rotate 90 degrees, just like we did with this other sketch. So this is going to be 90. Let me first mirror this one. This is kind of facing the wrong side. I can make an axis here and then select symmetry. Oh, sorry. I have to select it first. Select symmetry about this axis. I think that's reading correctly now. And then I can now rotate 90 degrees at this point. Hold on, I need to select my geometry. Select the geometry, then rotate about this point 90 degrees. I feel like it's just playing with me at this point. If I rotate 90, it should come to this side. Let me try negative 90. Negative 90. Okay, fine, that worked. So we bring this down, not the surface, the sketch. And then just this sketch, can try now to center it. Undo that. Then select everything. I feel like I should make them smaller still. They're still kind of large. This point. About 0.7. That should do it. That should do it for now. Let's try to make a pocket using that first. Where is everybody? Okay, so we're going to make a pocket. Select dimension. Make sure the direction is downwards. This is pretty curved. We might have to do another plane we might have to do another plane here because it looks pretty curved. And then I'm going to try 1 millimeter. We can go down from there if it's too much. It's not even touching the surface. Yeah, we might have to do another plane and transfer it so that it's closer to the surface. We've come this far, we don't want to be lazy about it. As you can see, one part is already protruding and one part is not even there yet. So yeah, it's pretty easy. I can try something else. Say a point on curve. Select this curve, position it right here, and then select another point. Now on surface, this surface, and then make this point our reference point and our direction to be on the X component. So we put it about this point and select OK. Hide the initial point, and then we're going to create a plane which is tangent to surface at this point. Select OK. Now we can hide all the points. Go back to part design. And then transfer our sketch to this plane being the support. Select OK. You can automatically see the difference in how it's sitting on that surface. And now we can make a pocket. Select this as our geometry. We can try 0.35 once again, reverse the direction to go downwards. And let's see how that works out. So we have this. I think that's nice. So what we can do is try and compare this with our initial image. So I'm going to pull up our initial image. So from this image, you can see we have this logo right here, and then we have the words here. They are kind of spaced out, and you can try to adjust that to fit your geometry. So in this case, it means that this world should be a bit higher. So you can make any changes, just use some reference photos, and that should be very easy for you to make. I'm going to settle for this. I think this looks good. You can hide this axis system, and we can go back to shading with materials. So that's what we have. And now you can save your work. And we can close all this and also the drawing file. Yeah, let's save those changes that we made. Oh no, not this one actually. This one we can just close it as a DXF file. And then we can see the assembly. and see if those changes we made are going to make any difference to the clasp and how it's looking. So Rolex assembly 1. We have some of these constraints which are visible, so I'm going to show all of them and then I'm going to hide like so. And now you can see before we had this seamless thing going on, you couldn't tell where the safety cover was ending and where the clasp cover was beginning. But now you can see we have this slot where you have an access for the finger to open up the safety clasp, and that is really good. And if you open this up, I select snap automatically to selected object, and I open up this clasp and remove all this geometry that is on top of the blade. All right, now you can see, oh, we have the top blade as well, sorry. And now you can see our clasp. It has all those logos that we made. That's really good. We have this crown here, we have that groove going. And if you come here and check the middle case, zoom in, you can see that we have that Rolex word going all the way around. And that's what we wanted. So for CATIA part, we are pretty much done with the watch. You can play around with the assembly, you can open the clasp, you can close the clasp. But I asked you guys to tell me if you want me to do a render in Keyshot, and someone commented and said they want us to do it. So shout out to that person. And we're going to do that. So I'm going to add one bonus episode to this series where I'm going to show you how we are going to position this oyster bracelet as opened, and we're also going to position another one as closed, and then we are going to prepare our model for Keyshot. There is some few preparation you have to make when you have these CAD files. CAD files are different from polygon files like the ones from Blender and Maya and Fusion 360. Those ones are polygon files, and they are pretty easy to just export to another software such as Adobe Substance 3D or Keyshot and add materials. But these are called nubs. They are made with very tiny triangles. They are pretty detailed. They are very heavy data. And we need to do a few things before we import this to Keyshot. So in the next episode, I'm going to show you how to prepare your model for Keyshot. We're going to import it there, and we're going to add some pretty realistic materials and to make it look exactly like that original Rolex watch. And then we're going to do a render. I'm hoping you have enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you for watching. I've seen some of you have pulled through so far, and that's really impressive of you, very disciplined of you. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next part.